This is the Church of St. Paul in the Desert.
Ever-living God, open my mind and enliven my heart with the mystery that is your word. Amen.
Amen.
So, how many of you would characterize yourself as worriers? You're not alone. Andrew would tell you that I am an inveterate worrier. Many of you know that we are the proud parents of 3 grown children who, between them, have provided us with 5 beautiful grandchildren. Unfortunately, when we got married, my parents didn't take us aside and clue us in that they continued to worry about us even when we were grown children. I now know that when your children are grown and out of the house, you merely trade the kinds of things for which you worry. I have traded worries about our son's missed homework assignments for the worries about how he will live when he is retired. And now we have 5 more people to worry about. As I am writing this and thinking about all of our children and grandchildren, today's gospel reading seems tailor-made for me. Irma Bombeck, a humorist who had much to say about the day-to-day struggles and joys of family, once said, "Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you never get anywhere." Sometimes we need a reason to leave our metaphorical rocking chairs that are familiar and seem comfortable. Today's gospel story offers us that motivation. We need to be out and appreciating the abundance that God has lavishly strewn about us. Our yard has no lilies, but there are crimson bougainvillea, as well as the red and yellow Mexican bird of paradise. I've been noticing a lot of tiny yellow butterflies lately, like tiny drops of sunshine come to brighten my world. And we are fortunate to have many beautiful hummingbirds zipping around us all year long, such as the Annas, who have an iridescent purple throat. The carob tree in our front yard is at the pollinating stage, which smells horrible to us, but entices dozens of bees to seek out the pollen. And thinking of bees reminds me of one of my favorite foods, honey. The gospel reading is not about being passive observers of God's generosity to us, however. We are called to strive toward full citizenship in God's kingdom and his righteousness. Now, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, synonyms of strive include plod, plow, slog, slave, struggle, and sweat. We are not called to be good stewards of all the resources of the earth, but also to show our gratitude by being hardworking people who are concerned about the needs of others with whom we share the earth. We need to be willing to struggle and sweat as we plod along in this work. I'm sure you have all seen many of the pictures taken at the scenes of the fires the past 2 weeks in California. One image stands out for me as exemplary of what it means to strive for the care and defense of others, especially those who may not be able to help themselves. The picture I'm referring to is a firefighter with a huge wall of flames at his back. This firefighter was running with 2 baby goats cradled in his arm. That picture brought home for me all the commitment and dedication of all the people who have struggled, slaved, and sweated as they dealt with the aspects involved with protecting us with the ravages of fire. Most of us are not called to be firefighters, but we are called by God to share in manifesting God's righteousness in this world. This includes striving for justice and peace for all people. I can show my gratitude for the many gifts which God has brought into my life by striving for an equitable access to God's abundance for all people. I am gratified and inspired by the response of the many organizations in San Diego, including the Episcopal Church, who have striven to deal with the humanitarian crisis occurring in their midst. They are scrambling to deal with the almost insurmountable need represented by the people being brought from detention stations at the Mexican-American border and abandoned on the streets and at bus stations in San Diego. I cannot imagine how terrifying it must be to find yourself in a strange country whose language you may not speak, with nothing but the clothes on your back and a few small belongings in a backpack. I am especially inspired by the leadership of Martha Anderson and Janine Shannoni, two priests in the San Diego area. They have both worked tirelessly, mobilizing their congregants to help equip the people they have encountered with food and beds and showers, and with clothing, shoes, and many other necessary items which will allow them to continue their journey on toward the families they have in the United States. We do not need to look as far away as San Diego or Paradise to be aware of the plight of people living without the basic necessities for survival. As I was speeding back to Ralph's yesterday for the second time to replace those cranberries which I had just burned, I looked at all the people gathered in small clumps in the park near the library. That sight made me grateful for those working in our community to meet the needs of those who do not have all they need to survive. I am grateful for the work of the Well in the Desert, who daily serves food for anyone who might need it. I am also thankful for the dedication of our own Social Justice Committee, who is always looking for more ways to meet the needs of those less fortunate than we are. Finally, I am thankful for being assigned as the deacon at St. Paul's in the Desert. Recently, I have been struggling with the effects of severe migraine headaches. One of my roles finds me making pastoral visits with people in the hospital or their homes. I am grateful for being able to share in the lives of the people in our congregation. Those visits are the best antidote for the depression and anxiety which comes with the headaches. I am grateful for that opportunity. I am aware that Andrew and I are among the privileged in the comparison of the haves and have-nots. Our 3 children and us, we all have homes, food, and clothing. And I am thankful we have been able to assist our children when they needed it. So my worries about how our son will live after he retires seems pretty frivolous compared to the unimaginable needs of the people of Paradise, a whole town displaced by fire. That worry especially seems crazy considering I won't even be around when Daniel retires. But before we go out, join me in pondering those things for which you are grateful. We do not have to look any further than the person sitting next to us to appreciate the loving generosity of God who is here in our midst. Even if that person is a stranger, you might give thanks for being here today to share in worship with that person. We do not have to strive for the love and generosity of God. It is given to us by the grace of God, who is always in our midst. Give thanks today for the abundance you have. And when we pass the peace of God in a few minutes, share that gift with those around you. I have logged many hours in rocking chairs in my lifetime. I do find comfort from that rocking motion, but I'm also aware that I need to get out of it and get on with my calling, striving for justice and peace for all people. When I go home today, rather than grumbling about the horrible ammonia smell of the carob tree, I think I will pause and give thanks that it is still thriving. I will remember all the creatures who have made their homes in that tree over the 30 years we have lived here. And I will especially express my gratitude to our gardener, who has striven to keep that tree alive, using his expertise and love for all the living things in our yard. I wish you all a blessed day of giving thanks for all of God's abundance in your life and the ability to share that abundance with those less fortunate. Amen.